There's a motel off Route 9. You've probably driven past it 100 times without noticing. Peeling paint, flickering neon sign that just says vacancy in sad blue letters. The kind of place you only stop at when you're too tired to keep driving. But there's one room nobody finishes sleeping in. Room 12. Every guest checks out before sunrise. Sometimes they leave in the middle of the night, doors wide open, luggage left behind. Sometimes they're found in the parking lot at dawn, sitting in their cars, staring at nothing. And they all say the same thing, something about 2:17 a.m. For years, the manager thought it was just bad dreams. Uncomfortable mattress. Maybe the heater made weird noises. But then someone left their phone charging overnight. And the camera, it turned itself on. What it recorded at 2:17 a.m. shouldn't exist. But it does. And once you see it, you'll understand why nobody ever stays until morning. The Starlight Motel opened in 1982. Back then, Route 9 was actually a route people took. Families on road trips, salesmen between cities. The motel had 23 rooms, a pool that worked for exactly one summer, and a diner attached to the office that served coffee, so bad it became a local joke. Room 12 was just a room, middle of the second floor. Nothing special about it. Bed, bathroom, TV that got 3 channels if you angled the antenna right. The wallpaper had this pattern of faded roses. The carpet was that brownish color that hides stains. Normal, until it wasn't. The problem started slow. Guests in room 12 would call the front desk at odd hours. Complaints about the temperature. The room was always cold, they said, even in August, even with the heater cranked up. Some complained about a smell. Not quite rot, not quite chemicals. Something stale, like old air that hadn't moved in years. Then came the early checkouts. At first it was once a month, then once a week. By 1995, the manager stopped renting room 12 altogether. But here's what's strange. He never told anyone why. Just marked it as maintenance in the system. Permanently. The night clerk, a guy named Dennis who worked there from 1987 until the place changed owners in 2004, kept his own logbook. Just a spiral notebook where he'd write down weird things that happened on his shifts. Someone found it in a storage unit last year when the motel finally sold. Most entries are boring. Couple in room 7 argued all night. Guy in room 15 asked for extra towels at 3 a.m. But the entries about room 12, those are different. Room 12, lights on. Nobody checked in tonight. Room 12, heard shower running. Doors locked. Nobody inside. Room 12, guest left at 2:30 a.m. Wouldn't talk, just kept saying it's still in there. And then there's this entry, dated March 19th, 1994. Room 12, police came. Guest called 911, said someone was standing in his room. Officers searched. Nobody there. Guest checked himself into hospital. Kept saying it knew my name. Dennis wrote one more thing at the bottom of that page. In smaller handwriting, like he didn't want anyone to see it. The guest who never leaves. In 2019, the Starlight Motel got new owners. Young couple trying to flip the property. They didn't know about room 12's history. They just saw a room that hadn't been rented in decades and figured it was money left on the table. They cleaned it out. New mattress, new paint, new TV. That awful rose wallpaper finally came down. They even replaced the carpet, made it look almost modern. And then they started renting it again. A truck driver named Marcus Chen was the first guest in room 12 in 15 years. Paid cash, said he just needed 6 hours of sleep before his next haul. The owners gave him a discount because they felt bad the room had been empty so long. Marcus checked in at 9 p.m. By 6 a.m., he was gone. Left his bag, left his phone charger, left $70 on the nightstand. When the owners went to clean the room, they found his phone on the floor beside the bed. It was still recording. The video file showed 8 hours and 14 minutes. Most of it was just darkness and the sound of someone breathing. Marcus had probably set it to record by accident, they thought. But then they scrubbed forward, and they saw it. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the phone screen lit up by itself. The camera turned on without anyone touching it. And in the glow of that screen, you could see the room. Marcus was in bed, asleep. You could hear his breathing. Steady, deep. The kind of sleep you sink into when you're exhausted. But there was something else in the frame. Where the foot of the bed should have been, there was a shape. Tall. Taller than any person should be in a room with an 8-foot ceiling. It didn't move like shadow. It moved like density. Like the air was thicker there. Heavier. And it was facing the bed. The footage is shaky. Phone cameras aren't meant for darkness, but you can make out details if you watch it enough times. The shape had edges that didn't quite line up with the space around it, like it was occupying two positions at once. And there was this texture to it, almost like static, like interference on an old television. It stood there for 41 seconds. Then the phone screen went dark again. Camera off, just like that. But here's what made the owners call the police. In those 41 seconds, Marcus never moved, never woke up, but his breathing changed, got faster, panicked, like his body knew something his mind didn't. And at 2:18 a.m., you can hear him whisper something in his sleep. He says, "I can't see its face." The owners tried calling Marcus. Number disconnected. They tried tracking him through his trucking company. He'd quit the next day. No forwarding address. Nobody's heard from him since. But they kept the video. And eventually, it leaked. After Marcus, the owners stopped renting room 12 again. But by then, the story had gotten out. Ghost hunters wanted to rent it. YouTubers wanted to film there. The owners said no to everyone, except they couldn't stop people from talking. And 3 other guests came forward. People who'd stayed in room 12 years earlier, before the renovations. They'd never reported what happened because, well, would you? Their names were Sarah Pickford, James Ruiz, and a woman who only agreed to talk if they didn't use her real name. She asked to be called M. Sarah stayed in room 12 in 2003. She was driving to her sister's wedding, pulled in around midnight. She remembers checking in, remembers brushing her teeth, remembers getting into bed. She doesn't remember anything after that until she woke up in her car at 5 a.m., still in her pajamas, parked 3 spaces away from room 12. Her knees were bruised, both of them, like she'd been kneeling for a long time. James stayed in 2007. Salesman. He remembers more than Sarah. He remembers waking up at what he thought was 3 a.m., but when he checked his phone, it said 2:17 a.m. He remembers the temperature dropping so fast his breath came out in clouds. And he remembers seeing someone standing next to the bathroom door. He turned on the light. Nobody there. Turned it off. The shape came back. He left without packing, drove 4 hours straight to the nearest city, and checked into a different hotel. He didn't sleep for 2 days after that. But M, her story is different. She stayed in room 12 in 2011. She was running away from something, she said. Wouldn't say what. She checked in late and specifically asked for a room where nobody would bother her. She remembers 2:17 a.m. very clearly. She says she woke up because the room felt wrong. The air pressure was off, like being in an airplane that's descending too fast. Her ears popped. The TV was on, but it was just static, gray and white noise filling the screen. And reflected in that static, she could see something standing behind her bed. She didn't move, didn't breathe, just watched the reflection in the TV screen. And she says it leaned down, closer, like it was looking at her, studying her. Then the TV went black. When she finally worked up the courage to turn on the lights, she was alone. But on the notepad beside the phone, someone had written something, not in her handwriting. She won't say what it said, but she did say this. It knew things about me nobody should know, things I've never told anyone, and it wrote them down like it was taking notes. She checked out at 2:19 a.m., hasn't driven past the Starlight Motel since. Here's what ties all their stories together. They all had the same dream the night before. They dreamed about standing in a hallway with numbered doors. And at the end of the hallway was room 12. The door was open, and something inside was waiting for them. After the footage leaked, people started asking real questions. Urban explorers broke in. Podcasters interviewed former staff. Someone even filed a Freedom of Information request for police reports related to the motel. And that's when things got strange. During the day, room 12 is just a room. 4 walls, 1 window, bathroom with a shower that drips. The new owners had it inspected by contractors, electricians, even a priest at one point. Nothing unusual, nothing wrong. Just an empty room that smells faintly of cleaning chemicals. But when you're in there, you feel it. This heaviness. Like you're being watched through a window you can't see. One urban explorer found something the owners had missed. Behind the bathroom mirror, there's a gap. Not a medicine cabinet. Just empty space. Like someone removed something that used to be there. And if you shine a light into that gap, you can see scratches on the back of the drywall. Words, carved into the surface. Don't fall asleep. IT comes at 2:17. I can hear it breathing. Some of the scratches look old, decades old. Some look recent. But the real discovery came when someone tracked down the original guest registry. The actual handwritten book from 1987, the year the motel opened. It was in a storage unit owned by the first manager, a guy named Raymond Holt. He died in 2008, and his family had been renting the unit for years without ever cleaning it out. The registry shows every guest who stayed at the Starlight. Names, dates, room numbers. Normal stuff. Except, on April 4th, 1987, someone checked into room 12. The handwriting in the registry is shaky, almost illegible, but you can make out the name. A. Whitmore, room 12, 11:47 p.m. There's no checkout time written, just a note in the margin, in different handwriting. Guest deceased. Police notified. Nobody named A. Whitmore shows up in any local death records from 1987. No obituary, no missing persons report, no police report at the motel that night. But here's where it gets worse. That same name, A. Whitmore, appears in the registry again. April 4th, 1988. Same room, same check-in time, 11:47 p.m. And again in 1989 and 1990 and every single year after that. Right up until 2004 when the motel switched to a computer system. Always April 4th, always room 12, always 11:47 p.m., always the same handwriting. Digging into April 4th, 1987 took months. Local newspapers from that time are barely archived, but someone finally found it. A small article buried on page 7 of the Route 9 Gazette. The headline, Unidentified Man Found Deceased at Local Motel. The article is 3 paragraphs. It says an unidentified male, estimated age 30 to 40, was found dead in room 12 of the Starlight Motel on the morning of April 5th, 1987. Cause of death, cardiac arrest. No identification on the body. No wallet, no keys, no vehicle in the parking lot. The man had checked in the night before, paid cash, and gave the name A. Whitmore. Police attempted to locate next of kin. No one ever claimed the body. Here's what they don't say in the article. The maid who found him said his eyes were open, wide open, like he'd seen something right before he died, and his hands were clenched so tight they had to break his fingers to straighten them out for the coroner. The police report, obtained through that FOIA request, has more details. The body was found on the floor beside the bed, not in it, like he'd tried to get to the door but didn't make it. The room was freezing cold, even though it was April, and the heater was on full blast. And the clock radio on the nightstand was stuck at 2:17 a.m. The coroner's report says cardiac arrest, but it also notes unusual physiological findings. His adrenaline levels were off the charts. His cortisol levels suggested extreme prolonged stress. One doctor who reviewed the file said his body looked like it had been terrified to death, but nobody knows who A. Whitmore really was. Some think it was a fake name. Some think he was running from something. And some think he's still there. Because here's the thing about the guests who experienced room 12. They all share one specific characteristic. Every single one of them was traveling alone. Every one of them paid cash. Every one of them checked in late at night when they were exhausted, vulnerable, half asleep already. And every one of them was running from something. A bad relationship, a job they hated, a past they wanted to forget, just like A. Whitmore probably was. It's like room 12 knows. It recognizes people who are trying to disappear. People who are alone in ways that go deeper than just physical isolation. And at 2:17 a.m., it shows them something. Something that reflects their fear back at them. Something that knows their secrets. Something that won't let them hide. The figure isn't random. It's specific, personal. That's why no two people describe it the same way. Sarah saw a shape. James saw a person. M saw something in the static. They all saw what they were running from. And A. Whitmore? Whatever he was running from caught up with him at 2:17 a.m. on April 4th, 1987. His heart just stopped. Now here's what nobody talks about. The part that keeps me awake. The footage from Marcus Chin's phone. It wasn't the only recording. After his video leaked, other people came forward. People who'd stayed in different rooms at the Starlight Motel over the years. Not room 12. Other rooms. Room 8. Room 15. Room 19. And some of them had set their phones to record at night too. For different reasons. To catch a partner snoring. To record sleep talking. Whatever. And when they went back and checked their footage, at 2:17 a.m., their cameras turned on too. Just for a few seconds. Just long enough to show their rooms. Empty rooms. Nothing standing at the foot of the bed. Nothing in the bathroom. Just normal motel rooms. But in the background, very faint, you can hear something. A door opening. The creak of hinges. Footsteps in the hallway. And then nothing. Camera off. Every recording from the Starlight Motel, from any room, on any night, shows the same thing. 2:17 a.m. Camera turns on. Footsteps in the hall. Camera turns off. It doesn't matter what room you're in. Something walks that hallway every single night at 2:17 a.m. And the only difference is this. If you're in room 12, it doesn't walk past. It comes inside. The Starlight Motel is still open. The new owners gave up trying to flip it. They just run it now as a budget motel. They still don't rent room 12. Officially, it's listed as storage. But sometimes, late at night, the motion sensor lights in the second floor hallway turn on by themselves. And if you're parked in the lot at the right time, you can see it. A light flickering on in room 12, just for a few seconds. At exactly 2:17 a.m. Nobody's staying in that room. Nobody has a key. So here's the question. Who checks in at 11:47 p.m. every April 4th? Who signs the guest book? And who, or what, is still keeping that appointment? The footage is out there. You can find it if you look hard enough. But before you do, ask yourself something. Why does the camera turn on by itself? Is it showing us what's in the room? Or is something in the room trying to show us something? Maybe it's a warning. Maybe it's an invitation. Or maybe it just wants witnesses. Because the scariest part isn't what happens at 2:17 a.m. It's that every single person who's seen that footage starts noticing something. Their phones turn on at night, 2:17 a.m. Camera facing their bed. Recording nothing. Recording something. You'll probably check tonight, won't you? And when you do, just remember, if your camera turns on at 2:17, don't look at what's on the screen. Look at what's standing behind you in the reflection.